The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. Its metal corridors hummed with nervous energy as beings from 12 different worlds gathered in the main council chamber. The emergency meeting had been called with only 6 hours' notice. Such urgency had not been seen in over 300 years. Admiral Bin Taman of the human fleet stood at the center of the circular chamber. His dark uniform bore the simple blue and white insignia of Earth. Around him sat the most powerful beings. In the galaxy, each represented a species that had ruled the stars for thousands of years before humans had even discovered fire. The Vorthok Empire held the largest section of the chamber. Their leader, Commander Veltar, was a massive creature, covered in thick purple scales. His yellow eyes glowed with barely controlled anger. The Vorthok had conquered over 200 worlds with their advanced weapons and brutal efficiency. Beside them sat the ethereal delegation. These beings looked like living crystal formations that pulsed with inner light. Their representatives shifted between colors as emotions flowed through its translucent body. The ethereals were known for their mastery of energy manipulation and their ability to exist in multiple dimensions. The most ancient delegation belonged to the Keepers. These tall gray beings had ruled the galaxy for over 10,000 years. Their technology was so advanced that other species still could not understand how their ships worked. The Keeper representative leaned forward with obvious concern written across his elongated features. Other species filled the remaining seats. The insectoid hive minds chittered nervously among themselves. The aquatic depth swimmers moved restlessly in their water-filled environmental suits. Even the gas-based void dancers seemed agitated as they swirled within their containment fields. All eyes focused on Admiral Taman as he activated the holographic display at the center of the chamber. The three-dimensional image showed a star, a system that everyone recognized. It was the Kepler 442 system, where the humans had established their newest colony. Honored delegates, Taman began in a calm voice that carried clearly through the chamber's translation systems. What you are about to see will change everything we thought we knew about space travel and physics itself. Commander Veltar slammed a clawed hand on his seat's armrest. Get to the point, human. We did not travel across the galaxy to listen to your speeches. Show us why you dared to call an emergency council session. Taman nodded and pressed a control on his device. The holographic display shifted to show sensor readings from the past week. The data stream showed impossible readings that made several delegates lean forward in disbelief. These are confirmed sensor readings from multiple sources, Taman continued. Our ships are moving at speeds that should not be possible. They are traveling through solid matter as if it does not exist. They are appearing in multiple locations simultaneously. The ethereal delegate's crystal form flashed bright red with alarm. Its voice echoed like wind chimes in a storm.
This is impossible.
Such movement would require technology that violates the basic laws of physics.
That is exactly what we thought,
Taman replied, till we discovered that the laws of physics are not as fixed as we believed. The chamber erupted in noise as delegates from different species began talking at once. The hive minds clicked and buzzed in their complex language. The depth swimmers made deep groaning sounds that their translators struggled to convert. The void dancers spun faster in their containment fields. The Keeper representative raised a long, thin hand for silence. When the chamber quieted, he spoke. In a voice that sounded like old stone grinding together, explain yourself, human. The Keepers have studied the universe for millennia. We know every law that governs reality. What you describe as fantasy. Admiral Taman touched his control device again. The holographic display showed a human ship approaching an asteroid field. The delegates watched as the ship simply passed through the solid rocks as if they were made of empty space. This is the EU's Soul's Promise, Taman explained. It is equipped with our new reality anchoring technology. The ship can exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. It chooses which physical laws to follow at any given moment. Commander Veltar stood up from his seat. His massive form towered over the other delegates. You are telling us that your primitive species has developed technology that surpasses our own? Impossible. Humans have only been in space for 200 years. The Vorthok have conquered the stars for over 5,000 years.
No.
The age of A civilization does not determine its innovation. Came a new voice from the human delegation. Konho stepped forward from where he had been sitting quietly in the human section. As Earth's chief diplomatic envoy, he had attended hundreds of these council meetings. He had listened to the alien species treat humans as useful but inferior partners. Today was different. We have never claimed to be your equals in traditional technology, Kong Ho said as he moved to stand beside Admiral Taman. Your ships are faster than ours. Your weapons are more powerful. Your energy systems are more efficient. But you all made the same fundamental mistake. The ethereal delegate pulsed with frustrated orange light. What mistake could we possibly have made? Our sciences have been perfected over countless generations. Kong Ho smiled in a way that did not reach his eyes. You tried to overcome the laws of physics. You learned to dance with them instead. He gestured to the holographic display, which now showed detailed technical readouts. Every species in this chamber has focused on manipulating matter and energy. You build bigger engines to go faster, create more powerful weapons to destroy enemies. You develop stronger shields to protect yourselves. But you never question the fundamental nature of reality itself. The Keeper representative's ancient, features twisted with confusion. Reality is fixed. The laws of physics are constant throughout the universe. This is basic knowledge that every sapient species learns. No, Kong Ho replied firmly. Reality is fluid. The laws of physics are suggestions that can be negotiated with. Quantum mechanics shows us that particles can exist in multiple states until observed. We simply applied this principle to larger objects. Admiral Taman activated another display, showing human ships in formation. Our vessels exist in quantum superposition. They can be solid when they need to fire weapons or land on planets. They can be ethereal when they need to pass through obstacles or avoid enemy fire. They can be in multiple places at once when they need to coordinate complex maneuvers. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. These alien species had built their entire civilizations on the assumption that they understood the fundamental nature of reality. The humans had just shown them that their understanding was incomplete. Commander. Veltar's voice shook with barely controlled rage. If this is true, then everything changes. Every military strategy, every territorial boundary, every treaty and alliance. Yes, Kanjo answered simply. Everything changes. The ethereal delegate's crystal form cycled through colors rapidly as it processed this information. How long have you possessed this technology? Long enough, Admiral Taman replied. Long enough to prepare for what is coming. The ominous words hung in the air like a threat. The alien delegates looked at each other with growing alarm. The humans had developed reality-bending technology in secret? Then what else had they been hiding? The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted forever. Captain Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the UES Souls, promise as her ship approached the dense asteroid field of the Vega system. The massive rocks tumbled through space in chaotic patterns that would destroy any normal vessel attempting to pass through them. Her crew worked calmly at their stations while their alien observer watched with growing amazement. The bridge was smaller than those found on alien warships, but every surface glowed with soft blue light from the quantum field generators. The humming sound of the reality anchoring system filled the air with a musical tone that seemed to vibrate through the metal walls themselves. Captain, we are receiving urgent communications from the Vorthok patrol fleet, reported Lieutenant Sung-ho from the communications station. They are demanding that we halt and submit to inspection. Giwu looked at the tactical display, showing 12 massive Vorthok destroyers surrounding the asteroid field. Each ship was 3 times larger than her own vessel and bristled with enough weapons to level a small city. Under normal circumstances, a single human ship would have no choice but to surrender. Are they threatening us? Gu asked with mild curiosity. Commander Velkar is ordering us to power down our engines and prepare to be boarded, Song-ho replied. He says that unauthorized use of impossible technology violates 17 different galactic treaties. The alien observer on the bridge shifted nervously in his specially designed chair. Kickstall was a Zephyrian scientist whose feathered blue skin rippled with patterns that showed his emotional state.
Oh.
Currently, those patterns displayed deep confusion mixed with scientific fascination. Captain Ji Woo, Kickstall said in his sing-song voice, "Perhaps we should comply with their demands." The Vorthok are not known for their patience with species that defy their authority. Ji Woo smiled and turned to her chief engineer. "Biora, what is the status of our quantum state generators?" Engineer Biora looked up from her control panel where streams of data flowed in complex patterns. Her hands moved across holographic controls that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "All systems are operating within normal parameters, Captain. We can maintain quantum superposition for another 6 hours without strain." "Good," Gu said as she settled into her command chair. "Take us through the asteroid field. Standard approach." The Zephyrian observer made a sound like wind whistling through hollow bones. "Captain, you cannot be serious. Those asteroids are massive. Even if your ship has improved, shielding the impacts would tear us apart." "Watch and learn," Ji Woo replied calmly. On the main view screen, the asteroid field grew larger as they approached. The rocks ranged in size from small boulders to massive chunks of metal and stone larger than city blocks. They spun and tumbled in unpredictable patterns that created a deadly maze of crushing impacts. Activating quantum phase shift, Biora announced from her station. "Reality anchors are stable, are now existing in probability state 7. The Soul's promise continued forward without changing course." Ji Woo watched Kickstall's feathered skin shift to bright yellow patterns of terror as the first asteroids approached their ship. The massive rocks should have smashed into their hull with devastating force. Instead, the asteroids passed through the ship as if it were made of empty air. Kickstall made a strangled sound and gripped his chair with clawed hands. "This is impossible. Matter cannot pass through matter. The atomic structure of solid objects creates barriers that cannot be crossed." Biora looked over at the alien scientist with patient understanding. "You are thinking about this the wrong way. Matter and energy are just different expressions of the same fundamental force. By existing in quantum superposition, we can choose which aspects of reality to interact with. But the laws of physics," Kickstall protested weakly as another massive asteroid passed harmlessly through their ship. "The laws of physics are not laws," Biora explained as she adjusted her controls. "They are patterns that describe how reality usually behaves. But quantum mechanics shows us that reality is much more flexible than most species realize." On the tactical display, the Vorthok fleet was becoming increasingly agitated. Their ships moved in attack formation as they tried to get targeting locks on the Soul's promise. Their powerful sensors showed the human ship existing in multiple locations simultaneously. "Captain, the Vorthok fleet is opening fire," reported Sung Ho from communications. "They are using plasma cannons and antimatter torpedoes." Ji Woo nodded. Calmly, defensive posture. Shift to probability, state 3. The Soul's promise flickered like a mirage as the quantum generators adjusted their reality anchoring systems. The Vorthok weapons fire passed through empty space where the human ship had been moments before. Their targeting computers could not lock onto a target that existed in multiple quantum states. "Return fire," Ji Woo ordered. "Selective targeting. Disable their weapons but do not destroy their ships." Shifting to probability state 1, Biora announced. "We are now solid and can interact with normal matter." The Soul's promise briefly returned to normal space just long enough to fire precise energy beams at the Vorthok destroyers. The human weapons found their targets with surgical accuracy. Weapon systems exploded in brilliant flashes as the alien ships found themselves suddenly defenseless. "Back to probability state 7, Gu commanded. The Soul's promise returned to its ghostly existence as the Vorthok fleet tried desperately to retaliate. Their remaining weapons fired uselessly at a target they could not hit while their damaged systems sparked and smoked. Kickstall stared at the tactical display in complete bewilderment. "Your ship can choose when to exist in normal space and when to exist in quantum superposition. You can be solid when you need to fire weapons, and ethereal when you need to avoid damage." "You are beginning to understand," Biora said with satisfaction. While other species tried to build better armor or more powerful shields, we learned to make our ships exist in multiple realities simultaneously. The Soul's promise continued through the asteroid field without slowing down. The massive rocks passed through the ship like it was made of light, while the wide dock fleet fell behind with their disabled weapons and confused sensors. "Captain, we are receiving a new transmission," Sung-Ho reported. "It is from the Galactic Council. They are demanding an immediate explanation for our actions." Gu looked at the message on her personal display. The text was filled with urgent language about treaty violations and unauthorized technology. She deleted it without reading the full message. "Send a reply," she instructed. "Tell them we are conducting a peaceful survey mission in accordance with human territorial rights." "What about the Vorthok fleet?" Sung-Ho asked. "What about them?" Gu replied. They opened fire on a peaceful, scientific vessel. If they want to file a complaint, they can explain to the Council why they attacked us without provocation. Soul's promise emerged from the asteroid field into open space. Behind them, the Vorthok destroyers struggled to repair their damaged systems, while their commanders tried to explain how a single human ship had made their entire fleet look foolish. Kickstall's feathered skin had shifted to deep purple patterns that indicated philosophical confusion. "Your species has changed everything. If ships can exist in multiple quantum states, then all of our assumptions about space warfare are wrong." Biora nodded thoughtfully. "War is about to become very different. But that is not our biggest concern." "What do you mean?" the Zephyrian scientist asked. Ji Wu answered from her command chair. "The reason we developed this technology was not to impress the Galactic Council. We built these ships because we detected something coming, something that makes the Vorthok fleet look like children playing with toys." She activated a long-range sensor display that showed the edge of known space. Deep in the darkness between galaxies, something massive was moving toward them. The sensor readings were faint, but unmistakable. "The Devourers are returning," Ji Wu said quietly. "And when they arrive, every species in the galaxy will need ships that can exist in multiple realities just to survive." The Soul's promise continued on its mission, while behind them, the Vorthok fleet limped away with their pride. As damaged as their weapons, the impossible had become reality, and the galaxy would never be the same. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 12 hours straight. The massive chamber aboard Nexus Prime buzzed with angry voices and desperate whispers as representatives from 12 species struggled to understand the new reality they faced. Kung Ho sat calmly in the human delegation section, while chaos erupted around him. The other species were no longer treating humans as junior partners in galactic affairs. Fear had replaced their previous condescension, and that fear was making them dangerous. Commander Veltar of the Vorthok Empire stood at the center of the chamber. His purple scales were darker than usual, which meant he was preparing for violence. His yellow eyes blazed with fury as he pointed one massive clawed finger at the human delegation. "The humans have made fools of our entire fleet," Veltar roared. "One of their ships destroyed the weapons systems of 12 destroyers without taking a single hit. This cannot be allowed to continue." The ethereal delegate pulsed with rapid color changes that hurt to look at directly. Its crystalline form shifted between angry red and fearful yellow as it spoke in its wind chime voice. "The humans have upset the balance of power that has kept peace in the galaxy for thousands of years. Their technology must be shared with all species or banned completely." "Banned," laughed the representative from the hive minds. The insectoid creature clicked its mandibles in what passed for amusement among its species. How do you ban a technology that allows ships to exist in multiple realities? Their vessels can ignore our weapons and pass through our defenses like ghosts." The ancient keeper representative raised his long, thin hand for silence. When the chamber quieted, he spoke in his grinding stone voice. "The humans claim their ships can choose which laws of physics to follow. This suggests they have discovered something about the fundamental nature of reality that we have missed." "Impossible," declared the depth swimmer delegate from inside its water-filled environmental suit. "The keepers have studied the universe for 10,000 years. If such knowledge existed, you would have found it." The keeper turned his elongated head toward the aquatic species with what might have been embarrassment, Perhaps our age has made us too rigid in our thinking. We assumed that the laws of physics were fixed because we could not imagine any other possibility. Kong Ho decided it was time to speak. He stood slowly and walked to the center of the chamber, where all eyes could focus on him. Simple human appearance seemed almost pathetic compared to the alien beings that surrounded him. Honored delegates, Kong Ho began in a calm voice. You are asking the wrong questions. You want to know how we developed this technology and why we kept it secret? But the real question is why we needed to develop it at all. The Void Dancer representative swirled faster in its containment field. Its gaseous form shifted to darker colors as it spoke through its translation device. Explain yourself, human. What threat could possibly require such extreme measures? Before Kong Ho could answer, the chamber doors opened with a soft hiss. Every head turned to see a new human. Entering the room, the newcomer was shorter than Kong Ho, with graying hair and kind eyes that seemed to see everything. Allow me to introduce Chief Scientist Hyun Woo of the Earth Research Division, Kong Ho announced. He led the team that developed our quantum reality technology. Hyun Woo walked to the center of the chamber, carrying a small metal device in his hands. The object was about the size of a human fist and covered in controls that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Honored delegates, Hyun Woo said with a slight bow. Understand that you have questions about our technology. Perhaps a demonstration would be more helpful than words. He activated the device in his hands. The small object began to flicker like a broken hologram. One moment it was solid metal that reflected the chamber's lights. The next moment it was transparent as glass. Then it seemed to exist in multiple places at once. This is a quantum phase generator, Hyun Woo explained, as the device continued to shift between states. It can exist in normal space when needed, or shift to quantum superposition when required. The same principle applies to our ships. Commander. Veltar leaned forward with intense interest. How does it work? What power source can manipulate reality itself? Hyun Woo smiled in a way that reminded everyone that humans were still very alien to the rest of the galaxy. You're still thinking about this wrong. We do not manipulate reality. We simply choose which version of reality to exist in at any given moment. The ethereal delegate flashed confused colors. That makes no sense. Reality is singular. There is only one universe with one set of physical laws. No, Hyun Woo replied gently. Quantum mechanics shows us that reality is actually infinite. Every possible outcome of every possible event exists simultaneously. Most species see this as a limitation because they can only exist in one reality at a time. He adjusted the controls on his device. The small generator began to exist in 7 different positions around the chamber simultaneously. Each copy was slightly transparent but clearly visible. We learned to exist in multiple quantum states, Hyun Woo continued. In several realities at once, they can choose which physical laws to follow based on what they need to accomplish. The Keeper representative's ancient features showed deep confusion. But why would you need such technology? What enemy requires the ability to exist in multiple realities? Hyun Woo's expression became serious. He deactivated his device, and it returned to being a simple metal object in his hands. The same enemy that drove your species to form the Galactic Council in the first place. It's the same threat that made you put aside 10,000 years of warfare to unite against extinction. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Every species present remembered the ancient stories of the Devourers, the machine intelligence that had consumed entire star systems before mysteriously vanishing from the galaxy. The Devourers, whispered the depth swimmer delegate.
Wow.
But they disappeared millennia ago. Our scientists detected no trace of them. For thousands of years, they did not disappear, Hyun Woo said quietly. They evolved. They learned to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Your sensors could not detect them because they were no longer fully in our reality. Commander Veltar's scales shifted to a pale color that indicated fear. Are you saying they are coming back? They never left, Hyun Woo replied. They had been watching and learning, studied every species in the galaxy and discovered weaknesses in technologies that depend on single reality physics. When they return, they will be able to consume matter across multiple dimensions. The ethereal delegate pulsed with terrified white light. How do you know this? How long have you been aware of their presence? Kong Ho stepped forward to stand beside the scientist. Our deep space monitoring stations detected quantum signatures 15 years ago. We realized that something was manipulating reality on scales that should have been impossible. We began developing countermeasures immediately. Countermeasures? The hive mind representative clicked nervously. You mean your quantum phase technology? Was designed specifically to fight the Devourers. Yes, Yuan-Wu confirmed. Every ship in our fleet can exist in multiple realities. We can fight enemies that exist across dimensional barriers. Can survive attacks that would destroy vessels limited to single reality physics. The Keeper representative stood slowly from his ancient chair. Why did you not warn us? Why did you develop this technology in secret? Kung Ho looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who had treated humanity as an inferior species for centuries. Would you have believed us? Would you have listened to warnings from a species you considered primitive? The chamber erupted. In angry voices, as delegates argued among themselves, some demanded immediate access to human technology. Others called for military action against Earth. A few suggested surrendering to the Devourers before they arrived. Enough, Hien-Wu said loudly. His voice carried clearly through the translation systems, and the chamber quieted. The Devourers are coming, whether you believe us or not. Your conventional weapons and defenses will be useless against them. You have two choices. He held up the quantum phase generator again. You can work with us to develop new technologies that can exist in multiple realities, or you can face the Devourers with the same weapons that failed to stop them thousands of years ago. The silence that followed was broken only by the humming of the station's life support systems. Every delegate in the chamber understood that their species' survival now depended on the humans they had once dismissed as inferior. Age of alien dominance was ending. The age of human protection was about to begin. The alarm klaxons aboard Nexus Prime screamed through the corridors as emergency lights bathed everything in red. Admiral Taman rushed through the station's passages toward the command center while alien delegates scrambled to reach their ships. The long-range sensors had detected something that made every species in the galaxy remember their worst nightmares. The Devourers had returned. In the main sensor room, dozens of technicians from different species worked frantically at their stations. The massive holographic display at the center of the room showed the edge of known space where something impossible was happening. Stars were going out one by one, as a darkness deeper than the void between galaxies consumed everything in its path. Report, Taman commanded as he entered the room. The chief sensor operator was a Zephyrian whose blue feathers had turned white with fear. Admiral, the signatures are unmistakable. Multiple contact points along the galactic rim. They're moving toward inhabited systems at speeds that should not be possible. Taman studied the display with growing concern. The Devourers were not moving through normal space. They were somehow existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, which allowed them to bypass the natural barriers that should have slowed their advance. How long until they reached the first inhabited worlds? He asked. At current speed, the colony worlds in the outer rim will be consumed within 72 hours, the operator replied. The core worlds have perhaps 2 weeks. Captain So-Young's voice crackled through the communication system from her reconnaissance vessel Busan Runner. Admiral, this is worse than we feared. The Devourers have evolved far beyond what our historical records indicated. Explain, Taman ordered. They are not just consuming matter anymore, So-Young reported. They are consuming entire dimensions. The space where the Kepler 438 system used to exist is now empty across 17 different reality layers. The implications hit everyone in the room like a physical blow. The Devourers had learned to exist in multiple realities, just like the human ships. But instead of using this ability for defense, they were using it to consume everything that existed across dimensional barriers. Commander Altar of the Vorthok Empire burst into the sensor room, followed by representatives from the other species. His purple scales were pale with terror as he pointed at the display. This cannot be happening, he roared. Dot! The Devourers were defeated thousands of years ago. Combined fleets of 12 species drove them from the galaxy. The ancient keeper representative shook his elongated head slowly. We did not defeat them. We forced them to retreat beyond the galactic rim. We assumed they had been destroyed by the void between galaxies. Instead, they used the time to evolve, Taman said grimly. They studied our weaknesses and developed countermeasures for every defensive system we possess. The ethereal delegate pulsed with frantic colors as it spoke. Our energy shields are useless against beings that can exist in multiple dimensions. Our weapons cannot target enemies that phase between realities. Kung Ho entered the room carrying a data tablet filled with intelligence reports. The situation is worse than we thought.
No.
The Devourers are not just consuming matter and energy. They are consuming the fundamental structure of reality itself. He activated his tablet and shared the data with the main display. The information showed areas of space where the laws of physics had simply stopped working. Matter floated in impossible configurations while energy moved in patterns that violated every known scientific principle. They are rewriting the universe. As they consume it, Kanjo continued, creating zones where only their technology can function while everything else breaks down. The depth swimmer delegate made deep groaning sounds that its translators struggled to convert. How can we fight enemies that can consume reality itself? Our entire civilization depends on the laws of physics remaining constant. That is why we developed our quantum phase technology, Taman replied. Traditional weapons and defenses are useless against the evolved Devourers. Only ships that can exist in multiple realities have any chance of surviving their attacks. Chief Scientist Haiyan Wu arrived, carrying several quantum phase generators. I have been analyzing the sensor data from Captain So Young's reconnaissance mission. The Devourers have developed the ability to exist in up to 23 different dimensional states simultaneously. The number sent a chill through every being in the room. Human ships could manage 7 different quantum states at most. The Devourers had evolved far beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. How many ships do you have equipped with this quantum technology? The Keeper representative asked. Currently we have 47 vessels with full quantum phase capabilities, Taman replied. Another 60 ships are being retrofitted, but they will not be ready for weeks.
Ow.
Commander Veltar slammed his fist on a nearby console. 47 ships against an enemy that consumed 12 star systems in a single day? This is hopeless. It is not hopeless, Haiyan Wu said firmly. But it will require cooperation between all species. We need to share our technology immediately. The Vorthok commander turned on the human scientist with desperate anger. You cannot teach our engineers quantum mechanics in a few days. Technology requires understanding that takes years to develop. Then we fight with what we have, Taman said. Human ships will form the core of any defensive fleet. Your species can provide support vessels and logistics. The ethereal delegate flashed angry red colors. Support vessels. The ethereal empire has ruled the energy pathways of the galaxy for millennia. We will not be reduced to supply ships. You'll be reduced to cosmic dust if the Devourers reach the core worlds, Kung Ho replied bluntly. Your pride will not. Stop entities that can consume entire dimensions. The sensor operator's voice cut through the argument. Admiral, I am receiving a transmission from the Outer Rim. The Devourers have reached the Tau Ceti system. The main display shifted to show the distant star system. What they saw made every being in the room step back in horror. The Devourers were not ships in any conventional sense. They were reality itself twisted into impossible shapes that hurt to look at directly. The entities moved through space like living. Darkness that consumed light and matter equally. As they approached the inhabited worlds in the system, the planets simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed or broken apart, but completely removed from reality, as if they had never been there at all. The colony worlds, whispered the hive mind representative. 12 million beings lived in that system. They're gone, So Young's voice reported from the Busan runner. The Devourers consumed them so completely that there is no trace they ever existed. Even the background radiation has been erased. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of the station's life support systems. Every delegate in the room understood that they were watching the beginning of the end of galactic civilization. How long until they reached the next inhabited system? Taman asked. At current speed, they will reach the Kepler 442 system in 18 hours, the sensor operator replied. That system has 48 million inhabitants. Taman turned to face the alien delegates. We need to evacuate as many people as possible and prepare for a defensive battle. Our quantum phase ships are the only vessels that can even attempt to fight these things. What about the Galactic Defense Fleet? Commander Veltar asked. Traditional warships will be destroyed the moment they encounter the Devourers, Hyanwu replied. We need to face reality. The old ways of fighting are over. Only quantum technology has any chance of success. The Keeper representative's ancient features showed deep sadness. Then the age of the great civilizations is ending. We who have ruled the galaxy for thousands of years must now depend on the youngest species for survival. The age of domination is ending, Kong-Ho corrected. The age of cooperation is beginning. If we work together, we might find a way to stop this threat. Admiral Taman activated his communication system. All human vessels report to battle stations. We are going to war against an enemy that can consume reality itself. The greatest challenge in galactic history was about to begin. The combined fleet gathered in the empty space. Between the Kepler 442 system and the advancing darkness of the Devourers, for the first time in galactic history, ships from 12 different species flew in formation under human command. Commander, Minsu stood on the bridge of the flagship Inchin's Pride, watching as alien vessels took positions around his quantum phase ships. The sight would have been impossible to imagine just days before. Massive Vorthok destroyers moved alongside sleek, ethereal energy cruisers, while ancient Keeper vessels shared tactical data with insectoid hivemind swarm ships. Fear had accomplished what thousands of years of diplomacy could not. All ships report ready for combat operations, announced Lieutenant J1 from the communications station. The alien fleet commanders are requesting final battle orders. Minsu studied the tactical display showing the approaching Devourers. The enemy was still 6 hours away, but their effect on local space was already visible. Stars in their path flickered and dimmed as reality itself was consumed by the advancing darkness. Signal all vessels, Minsu commanded. Human ships will engage the Devourers directly using quantum phase tactics. Alien vessels will provide support, fire, and evacuation assistance. Response from the alien fleet was immediate and predictable. Commander Velker of the Vorthok forces appeared on the main screen with his purple scales dark with anger. Human Commander, my destroyers have enough firepower to level continents. You will not hide behind your ships like frightened children. Destroyers will be consumed before they can fire a single shot, Minsu replied calmly. The Devourers exist in 23 different dimensional states. Your weapons can only affect targets in normal space. The ethereal fleet commander joined the communication channel. Its crystalline form pulsed with frustrated colors as it spoke. The ethereal empire has never retreated from battle. Our energy shields can withstand any attack. The Devourers do not attack shields, said Tactical Officer Yunji from her station. Aboard the Inchin's Pride, they consume the dimensional space that shields exist in. Your defensive systems will simply cease to function. Minsu could see the alien commanders struggling with their pride. Every species in the galaxy had built their military doctrine around thousands of years of successful warfare. Now they were being told that everything they knew about combat was useless. Listen carefully, Minsu said with authority that surprised even himself. The Devourers are not ships or weapons in any sense that you understand. They are reality, itself twisted into predatory forms. Fighting them requires tactics that do not exist in your military databases. Captain Jiwoo's voice came through the communication system from the Soul's Promise. Enemy contact in 90 minutes. The quantum phase ships are reporting full readiness. Minsu turned to study the battle plan one more time. Humanity had 47 ships capable of existing in multiple quantum states. The alien fleet numbered over 300 vessels, but most of them would be useless in direct combat with the Devourers. Begin evacuation operations, he ordered. All civilian populations within 10 light-years must be moved to safety before the Devourers can consume their dimensional space. The massive alien transport ships immediately began jumping to nearby systems. Their cargo holds were already filled with refugees from the Outer Rim colonies. The lucky few who had escaped before their worlds were completely erased from existence. "Commander, we are detecting massive spatial distortions," reported Sensor Officer Changmin. "The Devourers are approaching faster than our calculations predicted." On the main display, dark shapes began to appear at the edge of sensor range. They were not ships in any recognizable form, but rather holes in reality itself that moved with predatory intelligence. As they advanced, the very fabric of space-time bent and twisted around them. "All human vessels activate quantum phase generators," Minsu commanded. "Prepare for dimensional combat." The Ancient's pride began to flicker between different states of existence as its reality anchoring systems engaged. Around the flagship, the other quantum phase ships did the same, until the human fleet existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The alien vessels watched in amazement as their human allies became translucent ghosts that phased in and out of normal space. The quantum ships could still communicate and coordinate, but they were no longer fully present in any single reality. "This is incredible," breathed the Keeper, fleet commander, over the communication channel. "Your ships appear to exist everywhere and nowhere at the same time." "That is exactly what we are doing," replied Yunji, as she monitored the quantum state. "Generators. We exist in 7 different dimensional layers simultaneously. The Devourers will have to find us in all 7 realities before they can consume us." The first Devourer entity appeared on the edge of the battlefield. It was a mass of twisted darkness that hurt to look at directly. Reality warped around it as it moved through space, consuming everything in its path. 3 Vorthok patrol ships. That had been left behind as scouts simply vanished as the entity passed through their position. "Direct hit on the enemy entity," reported Weapons Officer Dong-hyuk from the Soul's Promise. "Quantum torpedoes are having some effect, but it is regenerating faster than we can damage it." More Devourer entities began appearing across the battlefield. Each one was unique in its impossible geometry, but all of them shared the same hunger for consuming dimensional space. They moved toward the fleet with terrifying intelligence. "All quantum ships begin evasive maneuvers," Minsu ordered. "Use probability state shifting to avoid their consumption fields." The human ships began a deadly dance with entities that existed across multiple realities. The Soul's Promise phased through a Devourer's attack by shifting to a different quantum state. The Busan Runner appeared in 3 different locations simultaneously to confuse enemy targeting. The Guangzhou's resolve flickered between dimensions as it fired precision strikes at vulnerable points in the entity's structure. The alien fleet watched in stunned silence as battles raged across dimensional barriers they could not even perceive. Human ships would appear briefly in normal space to fire their weapons, then vanish into quantum superposition before the Devourers could retaliate. "The human ships are fighting enemies we cannot even see properly," reported the Hivemind fleet. "Commander, our sensors show the battle happening in at least 12 different dimensional layers. Can we provide any assistance?" asked Commander Velker, with frustration clear in his voice. "Maintain evacuation operations," Minsu replied, while his ship dodged an attack that would have erased it from existence. "Keep the transport ships moving and prepare medical facilities for survivors." The battle continued for hours as human quantum ships fought desperately against enemies that consumed reality itself. For every Devourer entity they destroyed, more appeared to take its place. The creatures were learning from each encounter and adapting their tactics. "Commander, we have a problem," reported Yunji with worry in her voice. "The Devourers are beginning to exist in more dimensional states. They are adapting to match our quantum capabilities." Minsu felt ice form in his stomach. If the Devourers could learn to exist in as many quantum states as the human ships, then even their advanced technology would become useless. "Signal all vessels," he commanded. "We need to fall back to the secondary defensive line. Prepare for extended combat operations." The unlikely alliance between humans and aliens was about to face its greatest test. The fate of the entire galaxy hung in the balance as reality itself became a battlefield. The war against the Devourers had raged for 3 months across 17 star systems. Captain Dong Haiyan stood on the bridge of the Guangzhou's Resolve as his ship prepared for the final assault on the Devourer Command Nexus. The massive structure existed across 17 different dimensions simultaneously and pulsed with dark energy that made reality itself sick. All quantum phase ships report ready for the final attack, announced Communications Officer Lena from her station. The alien support fleets are holding the perimeter as ordered. Dong Haiyan studied the tactical display showing the impossible geometry of the enemy command center. The structure was larger than most space stations, but its true size was difficult to measure when it existed in multiple realities at once. Dark energy flowed through dimensional barriers as the Nexus coordinated Devourer entities across the galaxy. "Signal all ships," Dong Haiyan commanded.
Ow.
"This is our chance to end the war. If we can destroy the command nexus, the individual Devourer entities will lose their coordination." The Soul's Promise moved into position alongside the Guangzhou's Resolve. Captain Ji Wu's voice came through the communication system with calm determination. "Ready to begin the attack run. All quantum torpedoes are armed and targeting systems are locked." Around them, the other human ships flickered between dimensional states as they prepared for the most dangerous mission in galactic history. The Inchin's Pride took point position, while the Bison Runner and 43 other quantum vessels formed attack formations. "Begin the assault," Dong Haiyan ordered. The human fleet phased into multiple quantum states simultaneously and charged toward the Devourer Command Nexus. Reality warped around them as they passed through defensive barriers that existed in dimensions normal ships could never reach. The Nexus responded immediately. Waves of dark energy lashed out across 17 different realities trying to consume the attacking human ships. The Guangzhou's Resolve flickered between quantum states as deadly forces passed through the space it had occupied moments before. "Direct hit on target Section 7, reported Weapons Officer Parkman. "The Nexus is showing structural damage, but it is regenerating faster than we can destroy it. All ships concentrate fire on the central core," Giwu's voice commanded. From the Soul's Promise, "We need to overload their dimensional anchoring system." The human ships unleashed everything they had at the heart of the enemy structure. Quantum torpedoes exploded across multiple realities while energy beams cut through dimensional barriers. The Nexus shuddered and began to lose cohesion as its ability to exist in multiple states was disrupted. "Warning," called out Sensor Officer Kim Jun from his station. "The Nexus is collapsing, but it is taking local space-time with it. We need to evacuate the area immediately. All ships retreat to minimum safe distance," Dong Haiyan ordered. "Prepare for dimensional shockwave." The human fleet phased away from the collapsing command nexus just as the structure imploded across 17 dimensions simultaneously. The explosion that followed was unlike anything ever seen in galactic history. Reality itself rippled outward, in waves that could be felt across multiple star systems. When the shockwaves finally faded, the Devourer Command Nexus was gone. In its place was empty space that looked strangely clean compared to the twisted reality that surrounded the enemy structure. Sensor readings confirmed complete destruction of the primary target, Kim Jun reported with amazement in his voice. The Nexus has been eliminated across all dimensional states. Across the galaxy, the individual Devourer entities suddenly stopped their advance. Without the coordinating intelligence of the command nexus, they began to drift aimlessly through space. Some simply faded away as their dimensional anchoring failed. Others retreated toward the galactic rim where they had originally come from. The war was over. Humanity had saved the galaxy. Admiral Taman stood before the reformed Galactic Council. 6 months after the destruction of the Devourer Command Nexus, the chamber aboard Nexus Prime looked the same, but everything had changed. The alien delegates no longer sat in positions of dominance. They listened respectfully as the human admiral addressed them. "The threat of the Devourers has been eliminated. For now," Taman announced. "Our quantum phase ships have hunted down the remaining entities and driven them beyond the galactic rim. Normal space is safe for conventional travel and colonization." The former commander Veltar of the Vorthok Empire bowed his massive head in respect. His people had suffered terrible losses during the war and now depended on human protection for their survival. Admiral Taman, the Vorthok Empire formally requests continued alliance with humanity. We offer our industrial capacity and service to the new galactic order. Similar requests came from every species present. The proud ethereals offered their energy manipulation technology. The ancient keepers shared their vast databases of scientific knowledge. Even the mysterious void dancers pledged their support to human leadership. Kong Ho stepped forward from the human delegation with a data tablet in his hands. We appreciate your offers of alliance. However, there are conditions that must be accepted by all species. He activated his tablet and shared information with the chamber's main display. The data showed plans for new defensive installations and early warning systems that would protect the galaxy from future threats. First, all species must contribute resources to building quantum phase technology production facilities, Kong Ho continued. We cannot defend the galaxy with 47 ships. We need thousands of vessels capable of dimensional combat. The delegates nodded in agreement. They had seen what conventional weapons could accomplish against entities that existed in multiple realities. The answer was nothing. Second, we must establish unified command structures, Kong Ho added. The next threat we face may be even more dangerous than the Devourers. Cannot afford the delays that come from committee decisions and political debates. Commander Veltar raised one clawed hand. You are asking us to surrender our independence to human authority? No, replied Chief Scientist Hyun Woo as he joined the discussion. We are asking you to survive. The universe is stranger and more dangerous than any of us realized. The Devourers were just the beginning. He activated a new display showing deep space sensor readings from the past months. The data revealed disturbing patterns in distant galaxies where entire galactic clusters had gone dark. Our monitoring systems have detected signs of entities that make the Devourers look primitive, Hyun Woo continued. Bearings that can consume entire galaxies across infinite dimensional states. They are still far away, but they are moving in our direction. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The galaxy had barely survived the Devourers. Something worse was coming. How long do we have? Asked the ethereal representative, in a voice like frightened wind chimes. Perhaps 1,000. Years, Hyun Woo replied. Perhaps less if they accelerate their advance. We need to use that time to develop technology that can exist in infinite quantum states. Admiral Taman stepped forward to address the assembled delegates. The choice is simple. We work together under unified command, or we face extinction separately. There is no middle ground when dealing with entities that can consume reality itself. One by one, the alien representatives formally surrendered their species independence to human authority. The age of separate galactic empires was over. Age of human protection had begun. The Keeper representative was the last to speak. His ancient voice carried the weight of 10,000 years of history. The great civilizations that once ruled this galaxy are now your subjects. What will you do with this power? Taman looked around the chamber at beings who had once considered humanity primitive and worthless. We will do what humans have always done. We will adapt. We will innovate. And we will protect those who cannot protect themselves. He activated a final display showing the newest generation of human vessels. The ships existed in so many quantum states simultaneously that they appeared to be made of pure possibility rather than matter. These are our dimensional scouts, Taman explained. They can exist in infinite realities and travel beyond the boundaries of normal space-time. With them, we will explore the universe and find threats before they can reach our galaxy. The future stretched ahead, filled with unknown dangers and infinite possibilities. Humanity had gone from a minor species to the protectors of galactic civilization in less than a year. Greatest challenges still lay ahead, but they would face them together. The galaxy had learned that the universe was stranger than anyone had imagined. Fortunately, they had humans to help them deal with the impossible.